Welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice. Join me as we explore spirituality, self-help, and channeling spirit. Hello and welcome to From Beyond with your host Glenn Boddice, spiritual medium. Thank you for joining in for another action-packed show this week. As this week's episode, we're joined by my co-host Kristina Bloom, and we're going to be discussing the topic of time slips. Also in this week's show, we have the channeling from the world of spirit, which sees me becoming a vessel for spirit to bring that communication and wisdom through. And then also in this week's show, we have this week's energy forecast reading, which will hopefully help you navigate your way through the twists and turns of this week ahead. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Kristina Bloom. How are you doing, Kristina?
I'm fabulous, Glenn. How are you? Feeling
refreshed. Just come back from Scotland. Really, really lovely place. First time there. How about yourself?
I'm feeling good. I know that, we've kind of got this go down with the sickness thing going on around here.
There's a song in there.
A lot of people with the viruses and the infections and respiratory stuff. So, yeah, getting over that and feeling a lot better than I was last week, for sure.
Well, that's good to hear. You was just telling me off air that you was talking like that for a week.
I was whispering.
Well, I'm so glad that you're in full throttle mode tonight, because we're going to be diving deep, aren't we?
We are. This is such a fascinating topic.
It is. And just to remind the listeners, we're talking about time slips. Now, we've both encountered our own personal experiences of this. But before we go into that, I think I'm going to, as I was saying off air, I'm going to throw Kristina to the lions first, as I always do. And let's just dive in deep. What are time slips? What's your definition, Kristina?
Well, that's interesting, because my definition of time slips is actually a little bit different than what I found in doing some research.
Okay.
So I know that, I thought time slips was like missing time. But what this looks like is different than that, and it's a little shrouded in mystery. There's psychological factors, stress and fatigue, can play a role in perceiving time differently. There's temporal time lapses is another theory, I think, is what I'm looking at here. And certain locations, the fabric of time might be thinner or more porous. These thin spots could allow for glimpses into other areas.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. Temporal anomalies might occur due to fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field or gravitational forces. And I think what we have to remember, though, more than anything, is that time is human created.
Yes, definitely.
So, yeah, it's interesting. Parallel universes, residual energy hauntings.
Wow.
Quantum mechanics. Wormholes, skepticism, coincidence. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. But I think the one that really struck me was the residual energy and hauntings. And it's because some people believe that strong emotions or traumatic events leave residual energy imprinted on a location. These imprints occasionally bleed into our reality, causing time slips. And I think when I've heard about from people who have gone to places like Auschwitz, why anybody would do that on vacation is beyond me. But people have done that, where they've gone there and they have an experience of seeing some of the apparitions there, or some of the things that happened, or they see like a movie play out in front of them.
Yeah.
And that would be, to me, a residual energy haunting.
That would tie in with what they call the stone tape theory, wouldn't it? Where certain building materials act as like a recorder. And like you've quite rightly said, they absorb the energies, the emotions, and the experiences of what happened in that highly charged atmosphere. And when the frequency is right, or certain times of day, in our reality anyway, they would replay out. So it's not necessarily a haunting as such. It's just this recording on loop playing back.
Right.
And I think it's something to do with, is it sandstone or silica or something in the sandstone that acts as this recording agent on some energetic level that allows it to do that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I've heard that about limestone. I don't know, is limestone and sandstone the same thing?
Yeah, I think they've got similar attributes, haven't they?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that. It is an interesting topic to me because it's just one more step out of the matrix.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the matrix. As you said at the beginning there's no such thing as time. It's a human concept. So in many respects, everything is happening now, in the moment, on multiple layers, isn't it?
Right. And it's the multiple layers, I think, that trip us up. We're not accustomed to seeing multiple layers.
Yes, it's almost like an overshadowing, isn't it? An overlay, almost like when you're tuning into a radio station and you happen to meet with another radio station and that overlaps and you're getting that distorted experience. It's a similar thing, isn't it? Almost, I think
it is, yeah. So you were saying that you've had some experiences with time slips, and I would love to hear about it.
Oh, you're throwing me to the lions now, are you?
I am.
Yes, I have. And funnily enough, I think you mentioned this earlier about you saying that certain locations either give off a magnetic frequency or the veil is thinner in that location. Now, all of my experiences in having a time slip have been in the exact same location. And I'll just set the scene for you. I'm going to do my Agatha Christie version.
Excellent.
So basically, where I live, I have to drive up the main road. And I'd say about, 5 or 10 minutes up the main road, you have a crossroads there. And it's at this crossroads, and there's quite a historic building near to the crossroads as well, that I've had all of these experiences that I'm about to describe to you. Now, all of these experiences have happened when I've had to stop at the red light there and, wait for the other cars to go until you can make your way over the crossroads. And in doing so, there was only me that was sat at the traffic lights on my side of the junction. And I looked in my rearview mirror and then my side mirror, and I could see a very old-fashioned green double-decker bus. And it was a sort of style where the driver would have his own compartment in the front, like his own little compartment. And we haven't had that style of bus around here for years. It's like the 1960s design, and even the paint colour was green. It wasn't a modern day green. It was quite, there was no sheen to it. Very sort of matte paint is what the double-decker bus had. Anyway, I saw this bus driving up behind me, and instantly I thought, oh, that's unusual. You don't get any of those round here. The next minute, this bus pulled up at the side of me because it was going to turn to the right. I was in the middle lane to go straight on. And I could see it as real as can be because I looked to the right of me, inspecting it, thinking, wow, I haven't seen one of those for years. Anyway, as you turn your head to look at the lights to see if they've changed, I did that, and they were still on red. And so I looked to my right again to have another sneak peek at this bus, and it had gone. There was nothing there. And yet, that lane was on the same filter as me, so that wouldn't have been able to move as well because we're on the same lights. And you know what a diesel engine sounds like from the 60s? They're very loud. I would have heard it. And,
oh, yeah.
And there was nothing there. Nothing.
Wow.
So that's one of the encounters I've had in that location. Now, another one I've had in the same location, I'm not going to go through the story again because it's a similar sequence of events, except on this time, I was waiting at the lights. I looked in my rearview mirror and I saw an old-fashioned Ford Granada going back to the 1970s, this style of car. And again, you don't see the collector's items. You don't see any of those knocking about, and it was in pristine condition, almost like it had come out of the showroom. The light was gleaming off of it. And I thought, wow, I love that car, because it happens to be one of the cars in one of my favourite TV shows called The Sweeney, which is about the police. So it drew my attention to it straight away because it was just the same as what they use. And so I was looking in my rearview mirror, staring at it, thinking, wow, that's incredible. And the same thing again, I looked ahead of me to check the lights, still waiting, looked in the rearview mirror, and it wasn't there. It had gone.
Wow.
Nothing there.
Can I ask what color it was?
It was gold, and it was one of those metallic sparkly golds.
Okay.
That they had in the 70s, and you had like a vinyl trim, like a black vinyl plastic with chrome trim as well. So they're very rare. Very rare. So
I was asking because I used to have one. It was brown.
Did you? Oh, wow.
I did.
Oh, I love those cars. I bet that was a pleasure to drive, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was probably in the mid-'80s. So, yeah.
It wasn't you.
I just dated myself.
Oh, bless you. So there's two of my encounters, but it has been said that, in fact, one of my friends, he's no longer with us now, is in the world of spirit, but he used to drive up that road, and the times he told me that when he was driving up that road, he was very gifted spiritually. He would see Palladians walking on the opposite side of the road, and he described them to me. One of them was this very tall, slender-looking blonde lady, and he said her features, they just weren't human. They were human, but they were so chiseled and precise, and he picked up on the vibration as he was driving by, and he kept seeing this, different Palladians every time he drove up there. So with you saying about the veil being thin in that area, or the magnetic quality, I think you're onto something with that, with all of those encounters I've described.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It is interesting. It's interesting how we just run into these situations. You know what I mean? I'm sure you weren't looking for a bus.
Not at
all. Or for a Granada.
No. Not at all.
So,
yeah.
I had an interesting experience on a road trip, actually. I was driving through rural New York, way upstate. And I was driving through a town I'd never been in. I wish I could remember the name of the town because I would go back there.
Yeah.
But as I drove into the town, it was like driving onto a 1950s movie set. Like all of the cars were like from the 1950s. Yeah. People were dressed like from the 1950s. The police car with the big bubblegum lights on the top and the big rounded whatever. I don't know what kind of car it was, but because they all looked the same then, right? They were big round hunks of metal. And
that's right.
I pulled into a gas station and I went inside the store. Everybody was dressed the same, but the store was modern, so it was like this weird crossing of timelines. So, like, it had all modern stuff for sale. Different. I mean, all the products that you would expect to see now.
Yeah.
In that area, but the people were all dressed from like the 1950s, and I got in my car after I made my purchase. Put on my seatbelt, started the car, and went to drive out of town, and we were right back to where, 2023.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was very strange.
That's incredible. And did you notice, some of the people that he was interacting with, were they from this timeline, or were they talking, because back then in the 50s, they had a different patter with their speech, didn't they? They spoke differently. How were they interacting with you?
Like they were from the 1950s.
Really? The good day, ma'am, and all of that, all the pleasantries and things. And
yes.
Whoa.
Yes. And even looking into my car, because I was traveling alone, the gentleman behind the counter even kind of looked out at my car to see if there was somebody in it, because in the 1950s, women didn't travel alone.
Of course, yeah. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So the whole town was like that.
Yeah.
So I bet the signage, did you see any like advertising slogans of that era in the signage?
Not really, no. The town name was in a modern sign, an updated sign, and then it was like crossing, driving past it was like crossing into a different time zone, a different era, a different, I don't know what. It was interesting.
I should imagine the street furniture, the street lighting was different once you crossed that boundary there as well.
Right, and fewer street lights.
Oh,
there weren't as many.
Yeah. That is incredible. I don't know what the procedure is in the States nowadays, but I know only from referencing films, mainly Back to the Future, one of my favorite ones, is that was the first one was in the 1950s. And when they went to get fuel, someone would come out and they would fill the car up for them. Did that happen whilst you was there, or is that a standard thing from the States?
I didn't notice because I wasn't getting fuel.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Just went into the
I was
store.
Getting coffee. So.
Right. Well, that's a form of fuel.
Right. There you go. Just not for my car.
No. Wow.
Yeah. It was a very interesting concept. It seems like when I'm in my car is when I have experiences like that, and it sounds the same for you.
That's interesting, isn't it? The parallels there. I was thinking the same when you said you was driving and then this happened. Do you think as well, because when we are driving, obviously it becomes second nature to us when we've been driving for so long. And in your mind, you get relaxed, don't you? It's a form of relaxation. Maybe on some level, obviously we're conscious of the road. Let's get that out there straight away.
Yes, please. We are conscious of our driving. We are conscious while we're doing it.
But on some level, some part of our brain hasn't, it's not judging things. It's got an acceptance to it as we're driving. This is happening, that's happening. We're making judgments on that. So with that level of acceptance, maybe in our minds, it is opening us up to a different time zone or a time slip. Because we're heightened, we've got no resistance.
Right.
Yeah. And again, you said you had no expectation of looking for this experience. It just happened.
Right. Not at all. I had no, why would I even expect that? You know what I mean? Like you just wouldn't expect that.
Not at all. That's incredible. And likewise, I was the same, going about my daily business, thinking, I've got this to do, as you do when you're waiting at the lights.
Right.
And then, that's when it happened. Wow. Incredible. I think yours
it was really interesting. That's really stuck with me. I mean, it was literally like driving onto a movie set. It was the weirdest thing.
I love the fact that you had some engagement in conversation with some of the people. Yeah. Can you go into a little bit more depth about that? Obviously it's going back in time now, quite literally, when this happened to you.
Right.
So,
well, it was summer. I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt and sandals. I mean, that's the way we dress in the summer when it's warm out. And, everyone else is wearing like more formal clothing like they did in the 50s. Women in dresses and men with button-up shirts. And I got some funny looks. Nobody said anything, but I got some funny looks. Like they knew something went weird too. It was very different.
Wow. That's incredible. I was going to ask that, obviously you would stand out like a sore thumb, wouldn't you, in that time?
I would, yeah.
And I suppose, like you say, with being a lone female, driving your own vehicle, usually back in that time, ladies were driven, not drivers.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have spun them out in itself, wouldn't it?
It would. Plus, my car is 2018. It doesn't look like their cars.
Yeah. So, wow, time machine.
Yeah, I guess so. I really wonder what they must have been thinking, because it wasn't a very long interaction, maybe 20, 30 seconds, but it was still, I could see that they were affected too.
Wow. So the burning question is, how does a 2023 coffee compare to a 1950 coffee?
I wish I'd paid attention to that. I think it actually tasted about the same.
Oh, I would have thought less processed, less sugar.
Well, there wasn't any sugar in it. It was a black coffee.
Oh, there you go then. Yeah, about the same.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. So have you had any other encounters?
Again, in a car.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had one in my kitchen. I'll go to the one in the kitchen, actually, because it was kind of weird. This was an apartment that I had a number of years ago, and it was one of those small kitchens, kind of like almost like a closet with a stove, a sink, and a refrigerator in it, sort of small kitchen. And
a posh kitchen.
An apartment kitchen, yes.
Posh.
And
very upmarket.
Not posh. Not even close to posh. But I was making, it was either chili or spaghetti sauce. It was a big pot of red sauce. And I would stir it and tap off the spoon and set it on the spoon guard on top of the stove. I turned around to the sink to wash dishes or whatever. And I turned around and the spoon was back in the pot. And I'm like, I swear I took that out of there. So I stirred it again, did the same thing, same process. Turned around to do something. Turned around again, spoon's back in the pot. And I just kind of stood back and I went, what is going on here? And then I tuned into it, and I was able to see a lady like shaking her head, picking up the spoon. It was an older apartment building too, by the way. Picking up the spoon and putting it back in the pot, stirring it, and just leaving it like standing up against the edge of the pot inside of it. And I'm like, so I must be annoying her by taking her spoon out of the pot and putting it on the stove. Yeah,
because people have their own rituals, don't they, when they're cooking in the kitchen? And
they do, yeah.
So, yeah.
I know I do.
Yeah. So that's almost bordering on the paranormal, isn't it? Like a previous occupant, maybe, of that building.
Yeah, possibly.
Time slips. I don't know if it fits in that category. Possibly it could do, because that lady could be interacting with you in your time from her time.
Mm-hmm.
So in her dimension, it's her kitchen, and she might even be thinking the same thoughts that you're thinking. Why has my spoon been placed on that side? I'm sure I left it in the pot. And so there's this like to and fro, like Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, kind of. It was sort of a comedy of errors type of a thing. But I really got the impression that we were just in two different time spaces.
Yeah.
But doing a similar thing.
Yes, that's intriguing. Yeah, that almost reminds me of, do you remember a film going back some years now called The Others?
Yes.
And the people in the house, from their perspective, it was their house, but they was living in a different timeline. They didn't know the past. They continued to live. And then the people that bought the property, they was noticing all this peculiar activity. And so it reminds me of that almost, the way that was portrayed. But that must have been so amusing, yet frustrating at the same time.
I think I was more amused by it.
But I'm so glad that you had that interaction with that lady, and you got to the bottom of it.
I just started leaving the spoon in the pot, even though it drove me nuts. I just left it in there for her. Because obviously I was bothering her. I didn't want to do that.
You never know. It may have been your pan on the floor if you kept up with that.
I know, right? Didn't want to clean that up.
No.
That was a big soup pot. I didn't want to clean that up.
That's brilliant. I know you touched upon earlier when you was doing the introduction there about time slips and the matrix, the parallels, how both of those things can maybe come into play there. So it'd be interesting to deep dive into that a little. I know I've seen content on the internet before. Now, again, you have to take this content with a pinch of salt, don't you? Where there's been people in real time videoing, using their cell phones or mobile phones of a plane. You can hear the plane moving, but the plane's not moving, and it's pulling one of those like banners behind it, like a happy birthday banner. It's an old, like a 2-seater plane. You can hear it moving, but it's on pause in the sky. And they're taking videos of that in real time. It's intriguing viewing, but again, without going to that location, being there at that moment in time, and with today's technology, you can't always tell what's genuine and fake, can you?
Right. Not long ago, my husband and I were in the car. I was driving, and he looked over and he's like, that plane isn't moving. And it was a commercial jet. Okay. It was a commercial jet. It wasn't like a little 2-seater thing. Yeah. But it looked like it was just hanging there in the sky.
Oh, wow. So similar things there, yeah.
It was weird. Yeah, that was only maybe a few weeks ago.
Whoa. It makes you wonder whether a lot of these things are like window dressing in our lives. A bit like a stage set almost. They're just there to fill in the gaps, fill in the space. And I'm reminded of that. We're bringing out all the movies today, aren't we? Reminded of that movie called The Truman Show, where this guy was living his life as he always knew it, always thought it, and yet he was living inside a soap opera, an ongoing living soap opera, and he had no knowledge upon it until one of these, shall we call it, anomalies or time slips occurred, and it made him think differently. Maybe that plane that you and your husband saw is one of those aha moments.
It very well could be. And I have seen other people commenting on that on social media or whatever, like posting pictures of that plane is not moving. Wow. It's not moving. Yeah. And so when we had that experience, I was like, oh, that's what they're talking about. Okay, that is weird. Like that plane, it's not moving. And we were close to an airport. It should have been either taking off or landing. So I don't know. It was weird.
That is interesting, isn't it? Wow. You know what intrigues me, I'm having a little fantasy now, is obviously we've got family, loved ones that have made their transition into the world of spirit. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could maybe have a time slip by design and just have sort of 10 minutes with them on a certain timeline where we can engage with them once more and just cherish that moment where we may have not done in that previous timeline? That would be intriguing, right. I think. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that would be intriguing, and I think the only reason we don't have that experience is because we believe we can't.
I like it, yes. It's all in the mind, isn't it? It's all intention, removing the blocks. I suppose we've all been programmed in a certain way to only see the corners of the four walls, nothing else.
Yeah, that is interesting. I know when my personal energy field has gone high enough, and it doesn't happen often. I want to put that out there too.
Okay.
But like I was driving my car and I could see through it.
Whoa.
Yeah, then I pulled off the side of the road because I figured my energy was too high to function properly in the 3D world. But yeah, it was, I looked down and I could see the road moving underneath me as I was driving over it.
Whoa. So you had to pull over to ground your energies, anchor in, get some food and...
Yes.
Call in the team.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just want to say, I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I am completely 100% clean and sober. So, because I'm sure that if I was listening to this, I'd be like, and what were you smoking?
We're just high on
nothing.
life in this show. We're high on life, nothing else.
Well, I think I was high on selenite crystals, to be honest with you.
Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah, I had been in a store that it was a crystal store that had a lot of selenite in it. So,
wow.
I'm thinking maybe that was it.
Oh, I think we need to explore that further in another episode because we're running out of time, unfortunately. So as ever, Kristina, thank you so much. Before we end this segment, can I just ask you to share where people can find you, how to contact you if they want any of your services or products?
Absolutely. So my website has just been completely revamped, and that's real easy. It's KristinaBloom.com. Kristina with a K, Bloom with 2 O's. So KristinaBloom.com. You can make an appointment. You can see my calendar of events. You can see all the things that I offer. My books are now for sale on my website. So all of that, you can reach me right through there.
That's wonderful. Well, Kristina, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this deep dive conversation with you today. And I'm wishing you a wonderful month ahead. Take care.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
I absolutely love our sessions together, Kristina Bloom and myself. We do dive deep with some very interesting topics, and we always like to extend that invitation to any of the listeners if they want us to deep dive into a certain topic or make an explanation of things that have happened or whatever it is, then please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you and bring forward our collective knowledge and also our collective channelings there from Spirit in order to help you on your pathway there. But as ever, I absolutely adore that. So we're going to move on to the next segment of the show, which is this week's channeling from the world of Spirit, which sees me becoming a vessel for Spirit to bring their communications through and blend their frequencies with mine. And as ever, I love this part of the show. Every week is different, obviously, and it's nice to hear what we need to hear from Spirit's perspective to help us on our day-to-day lives there as well, and give us that greater understanding of energy, frequency, why we're here, how we can make adjustments and amendments in our life in order for us to flourish more seamlessly in our lifetime, in our pathway there. So it's always encouraging to hear that. And as you know, I say most times that this is it's very important that you become clear as a vessel. So I have to take real good care of my mental health, emotional health, physical health, and also watch what I eat, what I watch, and who I hang around with in order to create that space for Spirit to come through. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's channeling from the world of Spirit.
Hello, we'd like to talk to you about your path, your spiritual path, and your, shall we say, your destiny. And many of you are quizzing and asking questions and are worried about this very thing in itself. You're going through your life and you're not hitting your aspirations. In other words, you're not fulfilling where you feel you ought to be. And this is the human mind trying to make sense of it all, and also making comparisons and judgments about those that you are observing in your pathway. We would like to tell you that yes, we understand that it's very frustrating when you observe other people in your pathway attaining success, attaining their desires in their true moment consciousness. But that is their desires, they're not yours. And so we implore you not to worry about where you're at on your timeline. Do not make any comparisons to or towards others. Instead, be at peace with who you are as an individual many of you listening to this will have gone through many twists and turns on your timeline to the point where you've had to have respite and stopgaps in your life in order to repair yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically. And we say, don't be hard on yourself. You've gone through these elements and facets of your life for a divine reason, and that reason is to tie up some loose ends energetically, to do the inner healing work, and to learn the wisdom and the lessons within those situations that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise would have obtained that wisdom and that knowledge if you hadn't have gone through that experience. So never mind what anybody else is going through. You're all treading different paths, and you have to all honor your own path. To do that, you have to get clear, as we've said. You have to come into alignment and stop having these anxious thoughts and thinkings and worries concerning your pathway and your timeline. When you relax into life with an understanding of love and appreciation for who you are, then life can flow in your favor, in your pathway. Stop resisting these changes that are coming in that have already been designed for your path. We say that many of you listening to this cause lots of upset on your own timeline simply because of all this worry and this needing to have something now, when in actual fact it's already here, it's already in alignment with who you are. And the fact that you're having this anxious thinking and emotions is blocking and stopping and slowing down your process on your timeline. So relax into life and understand there's a flow to it. When you resist this urge of the changes coming in, then you simply flow and you are more present, and you take life in that respect, in a more present moment consciousness state, where you're just making the choice, is this coming from a perspective of love or a perception of fear? And when you make more conscious thoughts based upon the feelings that you feel within your heart and in your energetic body, then your life can flow. And that anxious thoughts and emotions will slowly eradicate out of your experience on your timeline. Many of you listening to this will be so much in your thinking and in your emotions that you're not being present. And in turn, you're not grounded in your vibration. You're very scatty in the mind and find it difficult to interact with now moment consciousness. We say to you that obviously grounding and anchoring your energy in your reality is also part of the process, allowing yourself to be divinely balanced and inspired. And you can do this by asking with intention, going out in nature, having balanced lifestyles such as time for work, time for play, time for family, time for friends, and things of that nature. Where you get the balance right, then these intense emotions and overbearing thoughts that you've all been having will subside and allow you to be more present and flow with life with a sense of ease, grace, and gratitude. So we hope this has given you something to maybe consider and understand that if you are feeling that frustration and those anxious thoughts and emotions, that you're actually blocking yourself from obtaining and connecting in on your timeline on a greater high vibrational level on a much quicker time. So we'd like to pass you over to another communicator who wishes to share some more information with you. Thank you for listening. We send you our love and greetings. Goodbye for now. Many of you will understand there's lots of changes occurring around you precisely at this moment in time, around March and April of 2024, there is a split in your vibrations on your planet Earth where many of you are walking into new timelines of least resistance, where opportunities seem to be knocking at your door one after another, whereas some of you will be experiencing the other side of the coin, where you're experiencing hardships and energy blocks and frustrations, and feeling like you're in the same old situation. And we say it is obviously down to choice, and only you can make that choice with your vibration, with your thoughts. So, depending on what side of the coin you wish to align with, it is very much a decision that you will all have to make on an individual basis. Many of you will have already made that decision in your subconscious mind, but we want to bring it to your attention today that you have the power to make the ultimate decision, and so why give that power away to the subconscious mind? Be conscious in your present moment reality, and that way you'll be able to make more positive, affirming choices and life changes in your life by doing that. But there's going to be a substantial shift in society, to the point where, depending on what vibration you're vibrating at, you will find it particularly different and difficult to align with others on the other side of the coin. And therefore it will create a split in society where people that vibrate of a similar energy will find it very easy to align and communicate with one another. They'll feel very confident, comfortable and relaxed in the present company of those individuals. Yet when you mix and mingle, you will feel that discord in your vibration, and it will cause you to make yet another decision, either to stay in that energy or to go and thrive in another vibration. But you're always faced with these choices, and we say to you that this time is a time on your Earth's history where many souls have elected to come in and experience this beautiful time where you get to choose. You have more of a choice than you've ever had in your previous incarnations and previous timelines on the Earth. And so many souls, as we say, have elected to come in order to not only witness this greatest show on your planet, but also have the power of personal choice and put it into action, and to move into alternative realities that were never perceived as possible with your human mind. So it's a very transformative part of your calendar in the year of 2024. Obviously, there will be a progression of this new shift in your society, and it will occur slow to start with and gain momentum to the point where manifestations are merely a thought away, and they will happen almost instantaneously. So you'll be more mindful now than ever. But we hope this information has maybe tantalized you in some way, where it's enabled you to contemplate on some of these topics that we've discussed, so that you can begin to start observing the changes and be conscious about where you fit on an energetic level. We'd like to thank you all so much for listening, and we'd like to pass you over to one more communicator. Thank you. Many will understand the vibration of love as that of a romantic nature, but more so now than ever, you will all be feeling that combination of love in its purity, filtering through your heart, filtering through your physical and energetic body at this moment in time. You'll have more empathy for those around you. You'll have more of an understanding of where you've been in your timeline. And in doing so, you'll have more gratitude and more patience. And actually, you'll have more wisdom. But love is always the answer. The path of least resistance. The path that you feel magnetically aligned with, that will draw you through into the next phase of your life. So trust the process and have more compassion for oneself as you are going through these very high vibrational transformative occurrences in all of your timelines. No matter how big or how small you perceive them, you are all experiencing this change in your Earth's history. We thank you all for listening and taking on board the frequencies, the healing codes and energies, and also the information in these communications with you today. We send our love and healing. Goodbye for now.
As always, an absolutely fantastic communication there from the world of spirit. It was nice to hear of them talking about our spiritual pathway and our destiny there, and how things can be rather frustrating for us all at this moment in time. We have a certain timeline that we're wanting to achieve and it's not coming in. So it's nice to hear that guidance to focus in on the frequency and the vibration of what we're wanting to create and manifest, as it is already here in our reality. We just have to align vibrationally with it there. Also, being clear about what we want is part of the process. And obviously by doing that, we can then make that choice mentally, emotionally, energetically to align with those frequencies. And by observing life as well, going with the flow, stop forcing things to happen, we can then watch these things show up in our reality there. Nice to hear also that Spirit have noticed a split in our timeline, our vibration, where we have that opportunity to make these choices and to witness opportunities coming into our life. And it's through trusting our intuition and making that clear choice that will allow us to regain that power that we've always had there and to walk on a different timeline in our present moment reality. Nice to hear and have that confirmation that now is a wonderful time to be alive on this planet, and many souls have elected to come in on this timeline to witness these changes, these very transformative changes coming in. And then obviously at the end, they're wonderful to hear about the vibration of love, connecting in with that feeling and noticing with more gratitude that we can connect in on a stronger vibration, the path of least resistance, and obviously to trust the process. So as ever, fantastic communication again from Spirit. So we're going to move on to the next segment of the show, which is this week's energy forecast reading. So sit back, relax, take notes if you wish, and enjoy this week's forecast reading. Hello, my name is Glenn Boddice and I'm a spiritual medium, and welcome to this week's energy forecast reading for the week commencing Monday the 1st of April 2024. Now, those of you that watched me work before will know that I connect with my spirit guides and helpers and also consult the wisdom of the angel tarot cards. So what I'm about to do is just shuffle the pack and allow a card to come out for this week's energy forecast reading. So here is your card for this week's energy forecast reading. I'm now going to link into the vibration of that. First of all, I feel that this week is going to be a very transformative week for all of you that are watching. I do feel as though you'll build up a sense of confidence this week, where you're actually going to go for life. You're going to flow with life, and you're going to start and take some really great opportunities that are coming your way. Now, the way that you will take these opportunities and know that they are opportunities is you will feel that burning desire in your gut, and your gut instinct will catapult you forward this week. Also, I'm being told to tell you, watch out for placing yourself under a lot of pressure this week. There's going to be a lot of demands on your time and your vibration, and I feel as though it is your decision only, to set aside some boundaries so that you're not burning yourself out. I do feel a sense of mental drainage with you there as well this week. So also pay attention to where you're placing your thoughts and your vibration in that respect. I'm also being told that this week in your physical body, you'll experience what I would describe like fatigue-like symptoms, feeling almost like muscle fatigue, like a flu-like symptoms without actually experiencing flu. But what I feel what is happening here is a difference in vibration in energy to the point where you're aligning to higher vibrational energy. You're moving into new timelines. And in fact, this is where you're getting that inspiration from to catapult you forward on new timelines with new opportunities coming in. I do sense that your heart is going to be opening up more so this week, to the point where you're going to be brave enough to allow yourself to be vulnerable with people that you come in contact with. Now, these people can be people you've never met before, but you feel that strong alignment with, and so you feel comfortable in opening up. I also sense that there's this happiness around you this week, to the point where for the first time in a long time, you just feel happy and you can't put a finger on it why you feel this way. I also sense that this happiness is going to give you some inspiration. Where you once said no to certain opportunities and meeting up with people and making a commitment on whatever level that is, I feel this week is going to say you actually throwing down the towel and saying, yes, let's do this. Let's meet up. Let's go and organize that. Let's do it. And I'm seeing this vibration very prevalent throughout the course of your week. I'm also being told to tell you, watch out for your sinuses this week, particularly around the nasal passage, as I do feel as though there will be a little bit of a blockage there with your breathing. I don't feel this is anything medically to concern yourself about. Again, I just feel it's a change in vibration, a change in energy, and you'll be picking up on that there as well. I'm also being reminded to tell you to drink plenty of mineral water this week, as that is going to help you flush out any toxins that you've been carrying around in the physical and energetic body. But also I'm being told to tell you, get plenty of exercise when inspiration strikes this week, as you will feel a lot better from doing that. Okay, so let's turn over the card for you. So at the top of the card, it reads Knight of Air. And so it's talking about armor. It's talking about protection. It's also talking about it's time to take that armor off piece by piece. We mentioned earlier about allowing yourself to be a little bit more vulnerable with people, maybe people you've never met before. And this way you're going to build up some amazing friendships and bonds and actually gain confidence within your own vibration there as well. And we've also got of air there as well. So air to me represents the thinning of the veil between this dimension, this frequency, and the world of spirit and higher base frequencies there, which was what we've been talking about as well. You're moving into a different timeline. So I feel as though it's you being more mindful of this process. These things are occurring, and there's no such thing as coincidences as you shift into this new frequency. At the bottom of the card, it reads intellectual, determined, and motivated. This aligns with what Spirit was saying for this week. I feel as though the intellectual part of that is you actually weighing up the pros and cons of what was, what is, and what can be. And instead of attaching to any of those one scenarios, you're going to trust that intuition, that fire in your belly to catapult you forward, and you're going to trust it more so this week as you feel more high vibrational. So let's take a look at the artwork. So around the edge, we've got the color of blue. To me, that indicates several things. First thing is the throat chakra, and it will see you communicating more openly and freely with others there. Secondly, it represents the flow of life, letting your words flow, letting your communications flow.
rather than editing them. How many times have we all been in that situation where we're about to say something and all of a sudden something stops us from saying it? So it's about having that bravery, going with the flow and allowing those words to flow through you. Also, it's talking about emotions in your life this week. And I feel as though your emotions won't be triggered. Like at one time, you could have been triggered really easy. I feel as though you've got more stability about you. You've got more confidence about you. And you're not going to allow your energy to be manipulated in that way moving forward. In the artwork itself, we've got this beautiful energy of this feminine energy, and she looks wrapped up there, wrapped up for winter. So the feminine energy is talking about sensitivity. It's talking about trusting your intuition this week. And the fact that this lady is standing very like at ease, I would say, in a military stance of standing at ease. So it's being comfortable and not being paranoid, not being on guard there. But also, as you can see, she's holding a sword aloft there. So she's still setting boundaries, even though she's more relaxed, more at ease. So this would relate to where you're going to be out in your life this week. She's also holding a bunch of flowers there. To me, that indicates some sort of remembrance this week coming up, and also to treat yourself rather than waiting for somebody to do it for you. Whether this is literally flowers, it could be a trip away, it could be an item of clothing or some music or whatever you feel aligned to purchase for yourself to heighten your vibrations. I feel as though that's what it's talking about. She's wearing a red bow as well. So that's talking about in the mind there with your thoughts, being present, not attaching too much to the past, to the future. Just being in the here and now will help you navigate your way through this week. The sword also indicates cord cutting as well, cutting cords to the past and starting afresh in your now moment consciousness, and also following your intuition as you walk and tread that new pathway in this week there as well. The fact that it's in a winter setting, I feel as though it's talking about actually the seasons changing. Obviously, we're moving into spring. You're going to feel more aligned. You're going to be more energetic. And also it's talking about you forgetting about the past and moving on. Stop freezing yourself in time. It's now time to move on. It's now time to go with the flow and start and make tracks in your life like you would in the snow. You would make footprints there for other people to follow. So other people will be watching you, will be inspired by your actions this week. So make sure that you're coming from that perspective of love and light. So that's what I picked up for you for this week's energy forecast reading. Thank you for hearting, liking, commenting and sharing. If you've enjoyed this reading and you would like to help and support the work that I do, I have got a Buy Me a Coffee link, which is a virtual tip jar either above or below this video. So all of your donations will be gratefully received and used in accordance with the spiritual work that I do in order to help people raise their vibration and ascend their consciousness. If you would like a one-to-one private reading or any other of my services, head over to my website, www.glennboddicespiritualmedium.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium, and book in with me there. Join me every Monday at 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time with my radio show From Beyond with Glenn Boddice, talking about all things spiritual, paranormal and self-help on www.pulsetalkradio.com. Have a fantastic week, everybody. Take care and bye for now.
Well, it sounds like we're all set for a very interesting week this week ahead, doesn't it? And it's always nice to know that spring is here and we can enjoy ourselves out in nature, relax with the weather and just feel that shift. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's show. I'd like to extend that invitation. If you have any show suggestions, any ideas or conversations you'd like to talk about, please get in touch by contacting www.glennboddicespiritualmedium.com or email me at glennboddice@live.co.uk. It would be fantastic to hear from you and interact with you. Join me the same place, same time next week, 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time with this very show on pulsetalkradio.com. Have a great week. Bye for now, everyone. Thank you for listening to From Beyond. For more information about what products and services Glenn provides, go to Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium